Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of the pointless things. Why are we flying by his pointless statue in Booty Bay? Because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 is the Brewfest Keg Pony, and the Brewfest Keg Pony is a toy that summons a beer-toting keg pony for 3 minutes. And this is actually a fun play on words because there is a thing called a pony keg, which is a container for beer that contains 7.75 US gallons of beer. And even though the pony itself is not a keg, the kegs on the pony are actually pretty cool. They're like Brewfest style, and they have the little tankard of beer on them. And so the way it works is you just click on the keg pony and he gives you a beer and you drink it, and then you can click him again and you just keep doing that over and over. And I would suggest stopping at some point, otherwise you will get sick. At least if you keep drinking it, but I don't know what else you're going to be doing. You're not going to just save it in your inventory. And so even though the Brewfest Keg Pony is not an actual keg himself, he does have the kegs on the sides of him, and he reminds me of Brewfest, so I had to put him on the list, and that's why it's number 10. 9. Number 9 are the Kegs of Suramar, and these are really cool. They have the moon shape on the top and I guess the bottom. I don't know which side's the top or bottom, but I feel like they got the moon on both. And they have purple and silver on the sides, and they have a silver rim, and they're very unique. You don't really see these anywhere else, and they are clearly an elven style of keg compared to many of the other kegs in the game. And you can actually talk at Brewfest to Vinter Mollylu, and she sells 4 types of wine. There's night wine coolers, boxed night wine, which I don't think I want any boxed night wine, sparkling Suramar spritz, and distilled night wine. And then I got curious and I was like, wait, hold on, what's the difference between a keg and a barrel? And so a barrel is a unit of measurement for liquids and dry goods, but a keg is a large cylindrical container used to store, transport, and serve drinks like beer and cider. So kegs are more for alcohol, while barrels can be for a whole bunch of stuff, but it can also include alcohol. But then I remember hearing about casks, and I was like, oh yeah, like a cask of wine. But then it says a cask is just a generic term for a container of fluids. So all these things are just kind of like tied together, I guess. And for the purpose of this video, everything you see is kegs. So that's why the Suramar kegs are number 9. 8. Number 8 is the Gunpowder Keg, and the Gunpowder Keg can be found at the South Sea Freebooter encampment on the Merchant Coast in the Barrens. And I figured everybody'd see the list of kegs and be like, oh yeah, alcohol, right? And I mean, most kegs are filled with alcohol, as we learned earlier, but a powder keg is a barrel of gunpowder, and the powder keg was the primary method for storing and transporting large quantities of black powder until the 1870s and the adoption of the modern cased cartridge. In practical use, powder kegs were small casks to limit damage from accidental explosions. However, they had to be handled with care since a spark or other source of heat could easily cause the contents to deflagrate. And I actually don't know what that symbol is on the barrel. It's like a weird check mark and then a little dot. Does anybody actually know what that symbol is? Maybe I'm crazy and it's something that I can't just figure out. Like, I don't know what it is. So if you know, comment down in the comment section so I can be like, hey, thanks, person that knows. But either way, that's why the gunpowder kegs are number 8. 7. Number 7 are the kegs of mead located at the Honey Meadery in the Isle of Dorn. And not only are these kegs cool, but there's also a big keg statue thing on the front of the building with these little bees on the side of it. I love the way that looks. And there's actually some really cool stuff I learned about mead. So it says here that its exact origins are unknown, but some texts show ancient Greeks consumed a honey water mixture as a way to honor the goddess Aphrodite. That's one of the reasons it's referred to as the nectar of the gods, although more recently, Nordic Vikings celebrated battles and long voyages with mead. And it also says here that in early England during the medieval times, honey wine was an essential part of a new marriage. In fact, the term honeymoon comes from mead. After marriage, a couple was supposed to drink this honey liquid as a way to boost their fertility. I had no idea that's where honeymoon came from. But anyway, back to World of Warcraft. I actually love the way these kegs also kind of glow. They have that orange fire type of glow inside of them where it's like, you know what I mean? I think that's pretty neat. So overall, these are really cool kegs in a really cool place. So that's why the honey mead kegs are number 7. 6. Number 6 are these kegs located at this random tavern in Borealis. And I like these kegs because number 1, they do have the bees on them. So maybe these are also honey mead. I actually never noticed that in Borealis, but these kegs do have a bunch of bees on them. So I would imagine that they are filled with mead, but they could be filled with beer. Maybe the main person making these just prioritizes mead, but they also make beer and wine and other stuff. Who knows? But the big thing for me here is I love the way the kegs are displayed. Like you have the kegs that are behind the bar, You have the kegs that are just stacked up in the back. You got kegs that are just thrown into a barrel. You have kegs that are serving as the table stand for tables. And so I feel like out of all the taverns in World of Warcraft, this might be one of the top ones at making use of kegs for purposes other than just holding alcohol in them. And I think that's pretty cool. And so that's why I decided to put these Borealis kegs at number 6. 5. Number 5 are the kegs located at Half Hill in Valley of the Four Winds in Pandaria, and there's quite a few cool kegs located at Half Hill, but my favorite ones are these fish kegs, and they're these big kegs that have a metal fish top piece. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's it's like a cool decorative thing on top of the keg, and I remember seeing this and being like, dude, this looks like something that would be perfect for a pointless top 10. I just didn't know which one it was going to be. And so after thinking about which one to do this week, and I was like, you know what? It's Brewfest. I think this is the one time I have the best opportunity to do kegs. And I know I love this fish keg, so let's just go ahead and do it. The other one I really like is this decorative cork that is a panda head. So you can see that numerous other kegs have corks in them, but this one specifically just has like a decorative panda head cork, which I thought was really cool. I've never seen that before. Or I guess I did see it, but I never really fully noticed it. But that's the point of Pointless Top 10, to find all those little things, and that's why they're number 5. 4. Number 4 is a bit of a weird one, but it is a combination of Gluck Gluck, the banana beds, and the cask barrels located near Gluck Gluck. So this is kind of me tying together Pointless Top 10 innkeepers, beds, and casks all into one, because there's so much located in this corner that blew my mind. So number 1, there are banana beds here. These are just straight up banana beds. There are bananas that make up the beds. You can see each bed is made up of 3 bananas. I can't believe I didn't notice this. This should have been in Pointless Top 10 beds, but I just never noticed. So now I'm putting it here. There's also Gluck Gluck, the innkeeper, who I probably would have put on Pointless Top 10 innkeepers last week because he serves Lorkin Icken Ookt Tick Flipper, the Florkin Juju Juice, and the Wicket Weak Sauce. And when you talk to him, he says, "Want to drink Wicket?" And you can say, "No slurp, Wicket needs a blickin' frick frack stick and pitch," or "Who do I have to grook to get a jeekin' slurp around here?" Dude, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say those things on YouTube, but for the sake of this Pointless Top 10, I will. And then, of course, the main part of this video, which is the kegs, and there's some normal kegs around, but then there's one of them where you click on it, and a hosen monkey just pops out of it and starts banging you on the head, which I guess is a reference to monkeys in a barrel, or maybe it's a barrel of monkeys. I don't know, but either way, that's why all these things are number 4. 3. Number 3 are all the casks located at the Thunder Brew Distillery in Keranos. And one of the really cool things here is that they actually have a massive cask on the roof of the building, and then the sides of the building also have these big casks that are just kind of like built into the side of the building. I don't know how they did it, but it looks really cool. And then on the actual inside, you do have some casks that are built in behind the bar. You got some casks in the basement. I know there was always that quest you had to do as a newbie dwarf that had to go down here and get a cask. And I noticed that you could even see the cask from the outside on the inside of the walls, which I thought is pretty neat. Although I don't know how good that is for insulation, but I doubt the dwarves care that much. They also got the fire going, so, you know, it's warm in here. And I also learned from doing Pointless Top 10 Taverns that Chen's Storm Stout actually visited here once. But yeah, this is just a really cool place with the kegs built into the building and on top of it, and then just a whole bunch of kegs all over the place. You got the really cool hammer and mountain symbol on the front of the keg too, which I thought was really neat. I forgot to mention. So for all those reasons, that's why the Thunder Brew Distillery kegs are number 3. 2. Number 2 is a combination of more Pandaria kegs. So first we have these kegs that are wrapped around with these big red ropes and these big metal button things. I don't know what they are, but I thought they looked really cool, and they're all over the town of Mistfall, where there is a quest where these little forest dudes were like stealing all the kegs, and I think it got removed from the game, or I did a quest where I can't do it anymore, but whatever, it was there. They were stealing the kegs, trust me. And these are actually the same kegs that are located at the Pandaren tent area at Brewfest, so I feel like out of all the kegs, these are the kegs that the Pandaren choose the most, because these are the ones they're bringing to Brewfest, man. They're bringing their best, their A-game kegs to the Brewfest. In fact, you can even see on the Brewfest kegs, they have a bunch of art stuff carved into them. There's like a building and the wind. That looks really cool. And then on top of that, I wanted to include the kegs at the Storm Stout Brewery, where all these hosen are just running around. They're throwing the kegs. They're like rolling kegs around. They're crashing into the kegs. There's like eggs rolling on the ceiling. There are kegs like built into the brewery, so I had to include all that as well, and that's why the Storm Stout Brewery and the Pandaren Brewfest kegs are number 2. 1. And number 1 is Chen's Empty Keg, and I feel like out of all the kegs in World of Warcraft, Chen's Empty Keg is probably the most famous one. So it is a random keg you find out in the Barrens, and it just says a small placard on one of the ends of the keg says Chen Storm Stout. May your spirit be raised and always raise your spirits. And you bring this keg to Brewmaster Drone in Ratchet, and he says, "Would you like a taste of Chen's namesake? Ah, the Storm Stout is a mighty brew. Chen taught the recipe to my mentor, and my mentor passed it on to me. I'll need you to get me a few things, but the kick is worth it." And so this quest pretty much takes you all over the Southern Barrens, gathering lightning glands, Thunderhawk saliva glands, a Kodo liver, and you brew it all up and you drink it, and he's like, "Hey, I told you this stuff's got a kick. Anyway, you could also make the Trog Ale I talked to you about. It's some crazy stuff." And then you also do the same thing and make this Trog Ale, and that's pretty much it. You're just helping this guy make some crazy Chen Storm Stout alcohol. But you know what? It's pretty cool and memorable, and that's why it's number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, you go watch Innkeepers, that's from last week, that kind of relates to kegs, or you go watch Taverns, which very much relates to kegs. Also, consider supporting the channel over on patreon.com/crendor or by becoming a channel member. Okay? Okay. See you.